Fluid's Uncommon Fossil here, and I'm joined by 10 Types, and we're trying something new between us. We've done some videos that have been uploaded on 10 Types channels at times, but now we're trying a podcast, something that's a little more conversational in format. So we'll see how it goes, and hopefully it's good enough to upload. We will find out soon. So, 10 Types, how has your week been with Pokemon?
It's been okay. I've played so I'm playing in the Team Challenge 4, and I've been preparing a little for that, but it's a bit messy. I don't want to get into too many details in case our opponents are listening. I doubt that. But I guess the biggest issue is I don't know if we're actually playing in it because there's all the we're not like being paired up against anyone, and it's like it's just a big mess. We can't. It just a mess. But I've been testing for that some, so that's kind of fun. And I've mostly been playing a lot of. I've actually been playing less games this week, but I've been playing. Just getting back into Pokemon some. I had kind of stopped for a little while, but I played some more of everyone's favorite deck, Weezing. I haven't played live in a while though, but you've been playing live, right?
Yeah, I'm doing live. I was excited about live, and then there was like that long wait to get to it. At this point, the next expansion is coming out soon, although it's a part one of the special expansions. But the the rewards for live will get reset in a couple days, and that's probably the most exciting thing with live. At this point, I've got up to level 50, tier 50 on the rewards and the battle pass. So I'm just doing the daily challenge to get a little bit there. And that's about it in live because I don't have a lot of cards yet. So the biggest thing there is what are the next rewards going to be in the battle pass. Then playing some more PTCGO again though because I have a lot more cards to choose from and putting together. I just put together a Dialga deck, which I haven't gotten to play yet. Um, Trying a few different things like Arceus, Tapu Koko, and such. So, messing around with stuff. And I really enjoy playing Lunatone Solrock much too much, I gotta say.
Yeah, that's a deck certainly. But is your Dialga deck with Lost Zone, or is it just with like the Mews and the Saucers?
The Muse and the Saucers. I was taking a look at the more traditional build seems to be a little stronger, but you know, I'll try this and probably the Lost Zone build is interesting also.
Yeah, I think the Lost Zone build's better. You just have like with the Mew build, you only have 4 item cards to accelerate energy versus the Lost Zone build, you have 8, and also you have other attackers. So when your Dialga dies, you don't just lose. But both are okay. I think the meta's kind of gotten away from Dialga at this point. It's kind of fallen off because it's a bit underwhelming, but it's still a kind of fun deck to mess around with.
Yeah, as we're talking about Dow, it reminds me, I forgot to introduce the podcast formally. We're going to call this podcast Reasonably Effective. And Dalga certainly is reasonably effective. It's far from being super effective. It almost was
Yeah, it was an okay.
there.
Yeah, it's okay. I think it was maybe top 5 in the meta, debatably at one point. But it was also like the new card, so everyone was playing it. But it's yeah, it's definitely a reasonably effective card. And the reason we're calling ourselves that also is because we are reasonably effective. We're not the best players, but we're certainly not the worst either.
Yeah, and it's also fun to talk about things that are reasonably effective because the things that are the top tier, there's a lot of content about, but there's a lot of other things that are almost at that level that are certainly viable to play online. You'll get a decent amount of success, and we want to explore that area.
Yeah.
All right, so we're kind of trying to figure out what to do here. So our first topic I think we want to dive into is just a consideration of the different types now and what's the best type. We have the 8 basic types and then colorless and dragon. And primarily focused, I think, on the attackers, but support Pokemon certainly will come into play. And I think from my standpoint, let's try to get to a top 3 if we can. We'll see if we agree and we'll see if we can get to that. And towards that, I think looking at it, there's 4 to me that we can just eliminate immediately to save time and move on. And that's grass, fire, fighting, and metal. There are a few good Pokemon in those types. I'm not denying that, but there's really not much within those 4 types.
Uh,
What do you think
I don't
about
know.
that?
I agree with grass is pretty bad. There's like I don't know. There's Beedrill, and
Yeah.
there's, I guess, Durant and Eldegoss. We mentioned those a little while ago, but
Yep.
that's about it. Fire, again, the best card is Radiant Charizard, which is I think by
Hmm.
far the best.
And it's a very good card.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's very good, but pretty much everything else, Fire is kind of bad. You like Entei, I
Yep.
know, but
I like but obviously it's bad. And Magna Basin's a great stadium. It's not good. The only other Pokemon I put down besides Rain Charger was Oricorio, the Fusion Strike, and that's that you're stretching it when you get there.
yeah. And then you said the other two I'm not so sure about. You said
Fighting and metal.
fighting. Okay, so fighting. Obviously, you have the Urshifus. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think what else is particularly good. There are some okay ones. You got the Hisuian Arcanine, which is the one when you have a zero card hand. For a free
Hmm.
attack, you just do big damage. And I think there's some others. There's Regirock from the what's it the Reggie's deck, and then the
Yep.
world's winning deck played fighting. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's that bad, especially if it like helped win the world championship. And the Urshifus are so good. I think it's. I don't know. I don't think it's the best type, but I don't think it's bad. And
Right.
same thing with metal. I think is a bit worse. You got Zacian, which isn't that good. You got Dialga, which isn't that good either,
Mhm.
and maybe
Well,
some other.
Genesect V, which
Oh
is
yeah,
very good,
yeah.
but
Genesect's very good.
but but I think is it fair to say even if you want to argue that fighting might be the best of those, that none of these four are going to be in the top three.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on because we get I don't want we want to spend more time I think on the better things and we will have more time. So the decks to me are like the 5 and 6 decks, the middle ones, and we don't need to sort them out. But I think again they don't fit in the top. In that will be Dragon and Lightning.
Um,
They both have good pieces, but and this is where we may start to disagree more.
yeah. I definitely think those aren't the top three either. I think Dragon is obviously got a bunch of solid like V stars. You got
Yep.
Hisuian Kuta V star. You got uh, what was it? Giratina V star, and then you
Giratina, yep.
also have Regidrago V star, which is pretty good.
Hmm.
You have Duraludon V Max, which is very good, and then you have like Regidrago with in Regis, which is pretty
Hmm.
important. Um, I think Dragon's like an okay type, but it doesn't have as many cards. It has like probably 10% of the cards. Amount of cards as all the other set types, so it's at a big disadvantage. It
Yeah.
obviously isn't exactly a type. It doesn't have its own energy, so I'd
Hmm.
say Dragon's okay, especially with Regidrago. I think VMAX does a lot. V Star has a lot of options, but it's not quite good enough right now.
Yep. And then how about Lightning? Because certainly in terms of hitting for weakness, Lightning may be the best type now, but I think it really doesn't have many strong Pokemon.
Yeah, I agree. I think Vikavolt really good, right? That's doing quite well, especially paired
Yes.
with Regieleki VMAX. So I think that's good. And then I think there are just a number of solid Lightning Pokemon. You have you got the Regieleki from the
Hmm.
Reggie's deck, and then you have the new Raichu, which is it does 140 for one colorless on a stage one Lightning, and then if your opponent's used it only does that if they've used their V-Star power, but it's a big counter
Hmm.
Pokemon. As you said, Lightning is a counter type right now,
Yeah.
and that's its best use. So it's certainly not bad, and I think it's helped by its typing, which is kind of a weird thing to say when you're ranking the types, but I think
Right.
it definitely doesn't quite live up. Especially Flaffy hasn't lived up to what people are hoping it would be.
Right. And if it wasn't good to hit for weakness, it would be maybe even worse now. You have Raikou V, Raichu V. You got Flying Pikachu that was in the World Championship deck.
Yeah,
But again, so it's okay, but I think there's better stuff.
yeah.
So then we get to what I would think. I think the 3, 4, and this is where there's which
Oh.
one. What was that?
I realized I figured out the top four. I'm so smart like that.
And we want to try to narrow down to a top 3 if we can. So one of these is out, and this is where it starts to get tough. And I think these two types are Psychic and Dark.
Yeah, I think that's true. Also, if so obviously this is a podcast. I'm gonna be posting on my YouTube channel, so I'm just like throwing stuff on the screen. If you're listening just audio wise, you're not missing out on anything. But I'm just like throwing cards up on the screen if you want to see that. But yeah. So I think Psychic's better. Dark has Dark has Crobat is a good engine piece, and then
And I
also,
got to say, I think Dark is better, but this one's tough.
yeah. Tell me why you think Dark's better.
I think it has a lot more good Pokemon. You've got what you say Crobat V, which is like a staple for a lot of decks. Galarian Weezing's very powerful with its ability, and then that pairs with Eternatus, which has been around for a long time, in and out, but it's always there. You have the Zoroark, the single prize with its box that opens up a lot of things. Drapion V is in just a ton of decks right now. You got the Yveltal. You got both Yveltals, right? The one that just knocks out a Pokemon, and you got the one that removes special energy.
Yeah, there are a lot of I feel like Dark isn't at the top of the meta. Maybe Drapion. Drapion's probably the best Dark Pokemon. But
you have that, and you have the Yveltal in decks right now.
what's your Yveltal?
A lot. Well, it depends on the deck, right? Is it a counter deck, and then it's got the special energy removal, or in the Lugia decks, you play the one that knocks out your opponent.
Yeah, I feel like
Amazing rare.
Drapion's pretty universally played.
Mhm.
It's not every deck, but it's in a solid chunk. But the reason Drapion sees so much play is because it counters one of the best decks in the game, Mew, which is Psychic. So I think Mew VMAX it's obviously really good. It's been really it's been borderline the best deck in format since it's been out, which is just crazy. And I don't think there's really anything that's been around for a particularly long time that people have said that about. And I think it's super good. Obviously, it's helped a lot out by Genesect, but it's still very good. And you have the Meloetta, which is Psychic. You have, and then you have a lot of. So that's like one of the best decks, if not the best deck right now, and for a while. And then you have the Lost Zone stuff. A lot of that's Sableye Psychic, Comfey Psychic, and those are debatably the heart of it. Certainly, Comfey is really important to it, and Sableye's pretty important to Lost Box as well. It's one of the main attackers. Some decks it is the main attacker. And then you also have Calyrex, the Shadow Calyrex, and you have Dragapult VMAX, and you even have Sylveon VMAX. So I think there are a lot of really good Psychic Pokemon. The Dark Pokemon are good, but they're not that good.
All right. I mean, there are, you have Galarian Zigzagoon that's in a lot of things. The Moltres, the two Galarian Moltres, which aren't at the top right now, though. But they're good. The thing with Psychic is, yes, you have the Mew things, but I would argue that the Genesect V is actually the most important card in that deck.
Yeah, that might be true, but that doesn't mean the Mew isn't important. Also, you have Mewtwo V Union, I just remembered, which is also very good.
Right, you have the V Union. You have Pumpkaboo that gets important in decks as a support, but it plays an important role. You have like the Celebrations Mew for the draw. You have Gengar that goes in the
Hisuian Zoroark V-Star.
Yeah. So
and you have the Gardevoir Curly Engine, which is not bad, and it's gonna get better, but it's okay now. See some play.
So I think to me it comes down to how much you prize the Mew VMAX, because Mew VMAX is one of the best Pokemon in the game now. Period. But so that could put Psychic above Dark. But I think in terms of a body of Pokemon, I think Dark is better in general. When you have Crobat V, Drapion V, Weezing, Yveltal, Eternatus, Zoroark is better when you get down to the 4, 5, and 6 Pokemon than in Psychic. And the big Psychic one you forgot. Maybe this is why I'll agree with you. It's better. Rapid Strike Malamar, your favorite Pokemon.
Yeah. Okay. There are a lot of really good Psychic Pokemon though. I think like Calyrex it's okay. It's not that good right now. Dragapult and Sylveon, they've all fallen off, but they're quite good. But then like Eternatus isn't that good. Weezing isn't that good. Crobat isn't even seeing that much play. I guess it's seeing a bunch of play in like Lugia, but it's not like a crucial part. But I think honestly, Lost Box, which I'd consider, it's not a Psychic deck exactly, but Comfey and Sableye are so good. Yeah. And then Mew, obviously, if you take out like Genesect's attack, it's not that good, but I mean it's not bad.
Well, you have and Meloetta's attack's very good, so that which is Psychic again. So
yeah, Meloetta doesn't carry the deck, especially some builds don't play it at all. But I think it's
right.
I think Mew, and then Mewtwo V Union is also very good right now. And
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best decks in the game as like a control deck. It's really nice to be able to like wall stuff, and it also can do big damage. And I think Psychic just has, and even Rapid Strike Malamar isn't a horrible card.
I know it
um,
hurts to say that.
yeah, and then there's also like Lunatone, which is also Psychic, which isn't that good, but I know you like that one. I think the dark ones though are there isn't anything that stands out for dark, so I have a hard time saying that
Okay.
it's three.
Okay. Well, all right. You've convinced me. I'll put Psychic as 3. I think that Dark deserves 4th
Yeah,
above the other decks we mentioned, types we mentioned before, though.
yeah. I'm glad I convinced you with Lunatone.
Exactly. That was the seller. It's not Mew. It's Lunatone was
Yeah,
the clincher.
but then so the top two are Water and Colors, which I think are pretty clearly the top two.
Mm-hmm.
They both got engines and they both got attackers, but
Yep.
so you said there was one that was clearly number one earlier to me. What is that?
I think Water is better. Before I sat down and looked at it, I would have said Colorless, but I think Water's just got so many good things. It's got obviously Palkia V-Star, which was still a very good deck and was the best deck when it first came out. The Italian engine that's just tremendous and the best engine in the game. It takes a lot of deck space, which is why sometimes you don't play it, but it's obviously getting the item you want. You can't beat that. Radiant Greninja is just in so many decks right now, just as an engine or as an attacker also. The attack's so dangerous. Luminion V is sees a decent amount of play in a lot of decks. Obviously, you have a support something like Manaphy, Cramorant, which is from the Lost Zone deck. You have Kiram VMAX that's good with Palkia, sometimes even paired more on its own. Empoleon V with its shutting down of Lost Zone that's fallen off but may pick up again. Everybody's favorite little card, Pyukumuku, with just gets tossed in those control decks. Octillery, which gets Rapid Strike's kind of forgotten, but it is a tremendous card. And Frostmoth, which fits in places too.
Yeah. Oh, and did you say Articuno as well? The water attacker is also quite
I
good.
did not, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think water is the best type. But I'll talk about colorless. Colorless
Yeah.
probably is, if you look at the best deck, colorless probably has like better stuff based on the top few cards because it has
Hmm.
Arceus V Star, which is really amazingly good. And it's
Yep.
been very good since it came out. People have kind of stopped playing it a bit, but it's so versatile, so strong. And then we also have the Barrel Engine, which I believe came out in the same set, Brilliant Stars. And then
Hmm.
and that's very good. I'd say Intellion's better than Barrel, but Barrel's still very good. And then we
Yeah.
also have debatably the best deck right now. I'm sure some people
Hmm.
would say it's clearly the best deck. I'd probably lean away from that, but Lugia V-Star, which is just so good right now with Archeops,
Hmm.
so two colorless Pokemon. And then you
Yep.
also have Blissey Miltank, which is pretty good.
Hmm.
You played that, and it's good,
It,
but
it, I know it works better than it should. I gotta say, they're good Pokemon, and Miltank can get splashed into other decks if people think it's the right play.
yeah. But I think the tools that Water is just so good. It has
Hmm.
more cards as well, I'm pretty sure, but it's also like more of an actual type. And then you mentioned this before the podcast as well, but the trainers, Water has
Hmm.
very good trainers. Colorless doesn't really have any particularly good trainers other than maybe Sharon's Care. But then you see Water coming in with both Irida and Melanie, which can get splashed into other decks. They're not just Water cards, but they're very nice. Specifically, Irida with the Inteleon engine is amazing. And then Melanie, obviously, with Palkia is really good. Sometimes he's played with Arceus, Urshifu, stuff like that. But really, yeah, Water has so many options and so
Does.
much like powerful stuff.
And Water has Capacious Bucket. It gets overlooked, but getting 2 basic energy, it's the only type I believe that has that, and that can be powerful. I'll just throw in one of my favorite deck to play now is Ice Rider, Water one also. But some other colorless though, which are very good. It's got the Chinchino engine that works for some things. The Regigigas in the Regi's deck is a very important Pokemon. Hisui, the Zoroark, V-Star, it's obviously its own deck.
Wait,
Um,
what? No,
um,
the which one? Hisuian
wait,
Zoroark V-Star?
yeah,
Oh yeah, colorless. Yeah.
yeah, that one's called it. Yeah, you
Oh,
got the Orangaroo with it from Sword and Shield that fits in some things. Dunsparce, which helps out colorless, and then you got the 2 Snorlax really. the Gormodize and the attacking one.
Yeah, and then
So,
you also have Block Snorlax, which is okay, the other control one.
oh, yep.
But I'd say yeah, Colorless gets outclassed. Like the good Colorless Pokemon are still very good, but then the
Hmm.
Water Pokemon are great, and
Yeah.
they just have so much like base value as well. Arceus and Lugia can sometimes like they'll struggle to stand on their own sometimes. Palkia won't struggle to stand on its own. It's got everything it needs and it's super strong. So I think water. But I think it's
Colorless.
yeah, I think water is
Yeah.
one, colors two, and you agree with that, right?
I do. And part of I wanted to mention that the colorless Pokemon is I think it shows though that colorless is clearly better than psychic, even though Mew's tremendous. Colorless just has so much depth to it. Like it can't compete, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean water has more depth, I'd say, but
Oh yeah, no, water, yeah, is yeah, even more than colorless. Yeah.
I think you mentioned Capacious Bucket, which I think will actually lead us nicely into our next section. We're talking about every time we're going to try to talk about one card or deck that's reasonably effective. It's not Capacious Bucket. It is Gardenia's Vigor, right? Is that what it's called?
Yes, Gardenia's bigger. Yeah, let's not missay it. We were missaying it many times in the past. At least I was.
Yeah, and then I was. So the reason I brought up Capacious Bucket. So Gardenia's Vigor says draw two cards. If you drew any cards this way, attach up to two Grass Energy cards from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. So that's pretty good. Reminiscent of Welder and also reminiscent or similar to Melanie. And so Gardenia's Vigor is not that good. If you played Pokemon a bunch, you'll know it's not that good. And it's struggled to really take off. Unlike Melanie, which is amazing right now. It's well, I don't know about right now, but pretty much it's been in a lot of different top decks, including, as I said, Urshifu, Arceus, Palkia, Kyurem, Ice Rider, stuff like that. Um,
Hmm.
and Melanie accelerates less energy, but why is Gardenia's Vigor like not good? Part of it is because you can't get the energy, and that's why I think if it had something like Capacious Bucket, it would be much better.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things where it's not. It can attach to the active, which you can with Melanie, which is a big plus too. So you've got to have switch on your turn also, because you probably want to attack with that Pokemon that you just powered up. Um, and when we look through it helps I think looking at the types before because grass is I think clearly the worst type. So that might be a big part of why Gardenia's Vigor is bad is that grass is just really underrepresented right now.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
looking. I'm looking for. Oh, I was looking for my grass decks, and I finally found one of the Gardenias. But yeah,
y-
and it's
y-
Orbital, which I
mhm.
isn't that good.
Yeah, and I when I played a bunch of welder decks before, and it's similar, but also drawing two cards, which is, you know, instead of three, it's a big difference. You know, it's a big change. Even though it's only one card, it makes has a big impact. The odds of getting the card you want are a lot less when it's two instead of three. So, um, I think it's, you know, I mean, accelerating two energy if you can pull it off though is tremendous. So there's a lot of upside, but it's just not reliable.
Yeah, it's not reliable, and I think as you we were talking about, like the grass is such a weak type, and not because of Gardenias, but because of all the grass Pokemon. The deck here that I'm looking at right now is Orbital VMAX, which doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily need Gardenias because it's only two attachments, and it also isn't that good. So, and this is one of the better targets for grass. I think the best target for grass right now might be Reggie Draco V Star, which isn't even a grass Pokemon, but
Right.
it's very clunky. But that's the deck, one of the decks given to you on PTCG Live on the Battle Battle
Yeah, Battle
VIP Pass or
Pass.
whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and so I think that's the best combination. But pretty much all the grass Pokemon are bad.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the Regidrago V-Star, it's probably better to be powered up with Blossom because it takes two types of energy. So this is probably not the best. I have looking at a grass box deck that I put together to play with Gardenias. It's okay. I think if I improve the deck list, it could be reasonably effective. I'll just kind of go through the Pokemon I tossed in. Uh, Miltank just because sometimes you need time to get going with it. I have one VMAX in the deck, which is Delmise, which is one I've liked. I don't think you've liked it as much, but
I haven't
the
played it.
VMAX. So it does 240 for three energy, which is solid. And then, but so therefore Gardenias can certainly help with that because you need to get 3 energy on it. Before I played it with the Rillaboom that accelerates, which is okay again also, but having a stage 2 to accelerate is not ideal either. But then Delmise also has Swinging Chain where it does 30 da- damage per energy attached to this Pokemon, Grass Energy.
Yeah.
So if you and it's big enough, it shouldn't get one shot. You can kind of build things up with it. Within the deck, what else? I threw in a Cricketune because that helps a little bit and helps you draw for its ability. So that's kind of the engine in the deck, which that's not a good sign when Cricketune's your engine.
Do you not
But
have
then
Barrel or Radiant Greninja?
no, I didn't with this. So you could like put in a barrel or something, but I did not. So I just really went leaning in with Gardenias, I gotta say. So the deck actually hasn't been horrible. Then it plays Leafeon, a 2/2 Leafeon V Star, not the V Max, which could be an option too. The V accelerates 1 energy, so therefore that helps you get going. And the V Star, which is very good, 260 HP, but it takes
30 less
30
after
less
attacks.
the
Yeah.
following turns, and its V Star power is very good. It's a boss essentially, so once per game, so that's quite nice with it. And does 180 with its attack. So, but it's 3 energy again, which is a little more than you want. So you need Gardenias, Shaman V Star. With that's only 2, which is a plus, and that's a revenge attacker. It's 120 plus 40 per prize card. So that to come out later in the game isn't a bad option. And then I put in the Pokemon that a lot of people were talking about, Zarude V, as to go with it. So I have the one with Jungle Rage. It's 120 plus an extra 120 if the opponent's active is a V Pokemon. So it can do 240 on a V Pokemon. It's not bad again. So it's a matter of does Gardenia's work and get things powered up.
Yeah, and then there's another card that was what's it called? I think it's Hisuian
Mhm.
Lilligant. That's pretty good. Hisuian Lilligant V-Star. Yeah, this was what people were talking about, and it came out in the same set as Gardenia, so it was kind of the obvious combination. But it unsurprisingly got outshadowed by Palkia. But parallel spin for grass colors, you do 130. You can put an energy attached to this Pokemon into your hand. If you do, it does 100 more. So that's only 230 for 3 grass, which isn't or 3 energy, but that's not particularly
Mhm.
good now that I'm looking at it. So I don't know why people are getting so worked up about it. But and then as an interesting V-Star powered, it's an ability that says during your turn you can search for up to 5 any combination of grass Pokemon and grass energy. So it does get the grass energy into your hand for Gardenias, and it
Yep.
also gets your Pokemon set up. But then, honestly, when I played, I messed around with Gardenias. I tried, I think, a Ditto grass box,
Mhm.
and I tried a baby Ditto grass box, and then I've messed around with Leafeon V Star just with
Mhm.
grass stuff. But then honestly, I found that every time I'm playing Gardenias, it's either better to have Cherim or better to have Rillaboom. And they're not easy to set up, but Gardenias just doesn't seem to work most of the time.
Yeah, it's a problem. And then with grass, you do have Turffield Stadium, which searches for an evolution, which does help the deck function a little better, helps make up for a lack of an engine, which it tends to have. But yeah, it's just the grass Pokemon just aren't great. Hopefully, hopefully there's some good grass Pokemon at some point, so Gardenias can have a real shot. Because I know it's not going to be as good as Welder, but Welder was kind of overpowered. So if it's a little worse than Welder, you still should be able to make some good grass decks from it.
Yeah, and even if it's like worse, it's worse than Melanie. Melanie is very good now. It's not overpowered, but
Mhm.
it's quite good. And I think like Gardenias just needs to come in as almost that good. But I think the fact that grass has been so bad for so long. I can't think of. Well, I guess there's Leafeon VMAX and then Rowlet and Alolan Executor, but usually every like 3 years there's a good grass deck or something. So it's not maybe every year or two. We've seen Decidueye, but like Decidueye doesn't
Right.
want it. I guess you could put it into Decidueye with Inteleon, but the issue is how do you get the energy in your hand? You could use Energy Search, which isn't that good, or you could use
Yeah.
Training Core, which also isn't that good.
Yeah, that's true. Training Court's a way to get a basic energy in your hand from the discard as long as you have it. I'm wondering with Gardenias if once rotation hits, Intellions go away as the engine, that'll shift things up. Maybe a card that's a little more random and inconsistent might be in a better place because right now that consistency of Intellion's so strong, but that'll go away.
Yeah, I don't know. Like there aren't the Intellion's still seeing play now, but it's not as dominant. It used to be like super dominant, but
Yeah.
now we only see it's in we see it in Palkia sometimes,
Hmm.
and I think that might be about it. So I don't think the loss of Inteleon is gonna like drastically increase the viability of Gardenias, especially with I think a lot of the Pokemon you mentioned in your deck are really good
Hmm.
against Vs, which means that they're very bad against EXs, which are going to be the new thing.
Yeah.
So that I don't have particularly high hopes for Gardenias unless they print some good grass Pokemon. And we're gonna see the starters again, obviously with the new generation. So the what's it called? The I don't remember what the stage 2 grass starter is, but hopefully we get some good cards to that, a good EX with that. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, but I don't have high hopes.
No, I mean, right now Gardenias, I think it's struggling to be even reasonably effective. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I guess if I had to give a deck, well, this one I'm looking at right now, it's an Orbital VMAX list, and I think Gardenias is okay in this list. You really need to pair it with Training Court, but also grass decks really like Turffield Stadium because it's a good card.
Yeah.
So it's just so awkward. Like I guess this you could definitely stick into Decidueye, but Decidueye there's not really any reason to play right now with Miltank around.
Hmm.
You could do like a toolbox, but pretty much Charm's better than Gardenia's if you're playing a single prize deck. So, and I find and a grass Gardenia's box could be. I don't know. I was gonna say it could be good. I don't know if I could say that though.
And with Gardenias, you have to be okay with only accelerating one energy on your turn because you often don't get the two. That's one thing I'll say. So if you could find a deck where accelerating one energy per turn in a couple random draw is good enough, you could play it. But
Yeah, you could also use Eldegoss, the one from I think of Following Skies, that searches for 2 energy and puts them into your hand. Um,
mhm.
oh, I remember. Let me find this deck, but it's Heatran, Radiant Heatran. Do you know that card? You
Re,
played
re,
it.
re, Go ahead,
It-
refresh me on that one.
So with this attack, Raging Blast, so it's fire. Fire colorless, colorless. This attack does 70 more for each damage counter on this Pokemon. You played this in Entei,
Mhm.
right? Before, right? You had Radiant Charge.
I did, yeah. It wasn't the best, but yes, but yeah.
Yeah, but so in this Radiant Heatran deck, which is interesting to say the least, it's a Gardenia's deck. So you have oh, and one way you can get the energy into your hand is energy retrieval. So that's what this deck uses, and as well as Eldegoss. But so you pair it with Old Cemetery, which is the stadium that says you put damage counters on your Pokemon, essentially when you attach energy. So Radiant Heatran is a 70 times multiplier on the amount of energy damage attached or damage on it. So you do Gardenias to accelerate 2 energy from your hand to grass, and then you attach a fire manually from your hand. And now you've gotten around 6 damage counters on your Radiant Heatran, and then you're one-shotting anything. So it's kind of fun, kind of bad, especially if you run into anything that like Lost City. If you lose your Heatran, you can't do anything. But it's an interesting deck.
Yeah, yeah, could be something to try, but that's about it, right? Try it and probably move on not too long after.
Yeah, it's not particularly good. It can one shot anything and it can pop off out of nowhere. Yeah, it's a lot of pieces. It's a lot of pieces though.
Yeah, so I guess with the Gardenia's Vigor, a card that came out with there was a lot of excitement when it came out, as you know, this was going to be the new Welder. People before it came out started to realize it wasn't as good as Welder, and then the lack of grass Pokemons just made it pretty irrelevant at the moment. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think there are a few new grass Pokemon. I haven't tried these, but from Silver Tempest you have his Superior V Star, which is just an okay grass Pokemon, not particularly amazing. But then there's also Chestnut V, which has its ability Needle-Line. If your active Chestnut V is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, put 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. Meaning that if you have 4 Chestnuts in play, your opponent is gonna take they're going to be taking 120 damage, and then its attack here is underwhelming. It's 130 for 3, but then you heal 30 from this Pokemon, so you could play a somewhat tanky Gardenia's deck, which could work. And you can also Gardenia's to switch up your attackers. You can do Radiant Serena to heal. I do think Radiant Serena helps grass Pokemon a lot. There are a lot of Pokemon like Celebi VMAX, which wants to heal itself up. And then I think Radiant Serena is a nice buff to grass decks, but I wonder if Gardenia's could see play with like Chestnut or something like that.
Maybe, I'm not sure it's going to work that well. You mentioned Radiant Sarina. I also, depending on what you're doing, Radiant Venusaur might be the better Radiant if you're going to be at small hand size and you're relying on Gardenia's Vigor. So it gets you in a better place to accelerate your energy.
Yeah, and Radiant Greninja is usually pretty good in that deck as well.
Yeah, it is. So, I guess, it's just a fun card to try. I think we're still looking for a way to play it, and I think a lot of people are. So maybe it'll work itself out. At some point, it's good enough. Gardenia's Vigor. I think it's got to be in something that's a strong deck at some point.
Yeah, but I don't think there's anything else to say. Do you think there's anything else to say about it?
No, I think we've said probably more than enough on it.
Yeah. So is it time to get into our next segment?
Yep, which is we're doing the 20 questions, right? Kind of a quiz show for one of the sections in 20 questions is what we're doing it this week. We didn't decide who's going first with this though, so
No, you're going first. I'll
guessing
guess.
first.
I'll guess first.
You're guessing first. Okay.
Yep.
So I have a card.
Yep.
So what do you want to guess?
I'll guess first. Is this card? Is it a Pokemon?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that's to be expected.
Yeah.
Is it a non-rule box?
Wait, is it a non-rule box?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It does not have a rule box.
Okay. So there's still a lot of ways to go. I'll narrow it down by, I guess, type.
Okay.
Or no, is it a basic?
No.
Okay, so it's an evolution. Let's see. So it could be. There are a lot of things. Is it a? Did it come out in this past year, in 2022?
No, it did not.
Okay, so did it come out in 2021 then, which was like the Battle Styles year?
No, it did not.
Ooh, interesting. So, and there's a standard, right? There was just one of the questions, but we agreed on standard.
Yes,
cards.
it's got to be standard card. Yes.
Okay, so 2020 means it's rotating this year, presumably. So let's see. It's a non-rule box evolution. What are some good ones? There's obviously the Inteleon engine, which is very good. There's also like Frostmoth, Rillaboom. I'll say, is it in did it come out in Sword and Shield or Rebel Clash?
No, it did not.
Okay. Did it come out in Darkness Ablaze?
No.
Okay, so looks like it could be. How many questions is this?
That was 7.
Okay, that's what I thought. Did it? Let's see. So probably Vivid Voltage. Ooh, so I'm thinking it could be. There's a Whimsicott, which is okay. What was in Vivid Voltage? How? So let's see. I guess I'll ask. Did it come out in Vivid Voltage?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure because there's Champions.
Right. There's
Path.
Champions Path, and I think that was it. There are a few special things they released here and there.
Yeah. So I wanted to get that down. Let's see. So what else is there? There's Whimsicott, which is pretty okay. I'm nervous I'm forgetting something. I don't even remember what was in like Vivid Voltage. Because that says
It's largely forgettable. Obviously, there's other paths you could take to try and narrow it down besides, like type or things like that.
yeah. I guess I'll ask. This is not type. Did this see play in a competitive deck or like hasn't seen play in there? It's like a serious competitive deck.
No.
Okay.
But I expect you to know it.
Yeah. Um,
That's one of the ground rules too. We're at this point trying to pick something the other person should know.
so let's see. Good vivid voltage. There's also something good. There's Garbodor. I don't think it's Garbodor. What have I like played from that set? And we're trying to not look stuff up.
Uh, I will just say trying to identify it by set might not be the best thing. You'll know that it belongs to that set. I'm pretty sure, but that might not be what triggers it in your mind.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we'll start looking at types. Let's see what types are. I'll go. Is it in uh, grass, fire, water, or lightning?
Yes, it is.
Okay, grass. How many is that? 10?
That was 10. Yes, so you're
Okay.
halfway.
I guess I'll say is it water or grass?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I guess I'll eliminate it. Is it water?
No.
Okay, so grass.
Yep.
Evolution. Non-rule box. Oh, what? I don't. Oh, I don't remember. Let's see. There's some good ones. It's not
I mean,
like.
it's a card. You've played the card. I'll give you that. That's
Yeah.
otherwise I wouldn't have picked it.
Yeah. Let's see. So, it's not. I feel like we were talking earlier, and we made them not super hard, but not super easy. Oh, let's see. Oh, I don't know where to go with this. So it could be a stage one or a stage two. Oh, okay. I know what it is. It's speed roll.
Yep, Beedrill from Vivid Voltage. So you got it on 13. So
Yeah.
which has the elusive master ability. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is the last card in your hand, you may play it onto your bench. If you do, draw 3 cards, and it's free retreat.
Yeah. I love this card. Oh, I played Gardenias with this card as well to attack with it.
Because it is 2 energy, one of which is uh, grass. It does 120 damage, so Gardenias to do 120 damage doesn't seem ideal,
Yeah.
but
You can get off turn one though, and your engine is your attacker, so it's fun.
yeah, I mean that's what right. I got this because obviously we're thinking about grass because Gardenias, and then this is a card that I started playing because of you, with kind of
Well,
an
Mad
is
Party,
it
right?
right a Mad Party build that this is part of the engine because you want to be discarding the Mad Party cards, so getting down to 1 card in hand wasn't unreasonable, and then you could accelerate onto the bench, draw some cards. You could even scoop this up again and potentially play it down again. So it was and sometimes it could be more effective than the Dene GX. It's only 1 prizer, and you could scoop it and do it multiple times in a turn.
Yeah, it's a fun card. Is it a good card? No, but it's very fun. So yeah, I have a bit of a harder one for you, I think. I'm
Okay.
not sure if it's harder than that, but I think this sees more play than that Beedrill. But
All right.
it's yeah. So you ready to get into it?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll ask, is it a Pokemon? Because
Uh,
there's a lot of Pokemon compared to everything else.
yeah, it's a Pokemon.
Okay. As expected. Um, is it colorless dragon, grass, fire, or water?
Can you
Just
say can you say those types again? You're not going in like
colorless.
order.
Well, the first 3 are I'll go in order. Then grass, fire, water. I think that's the right order. And then colorless and dragon, I'm tossing in as the 2 that don't fit in.
No,
It's not any of
no.
those. Okay, so I'm making some notes as we go here. And I don't fully know what the right abbreviations are at times, I gotta say, but I
Yeah.
haven't studied that. So, okay, so is it lightning, psychic, or fighting?
Yes. So now you
All
have you
right.
haven't you have it narrowed down some, but obviously you're still a long ways away.
I do. You don't need to put pressure on. So, is it is it lightning?
Oh yes.
Okay, well that's good. That could have taken me another guess or two to get to that far. So I know it's lightning. Is it a rule box Pokemon?
No.
Okay, which I believe, and we're doing standard, and
Yes.
I think that has to then be a single prize Pokemon, I believe.
Yes, it does.
Um, so let's see, is it a basic Pokemon?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I could ask if it has an evolution, but I'm not going to ask that yet. So, a basic non-rule backs lightning.
Yep.
So, does it have an ability?
No.
Oh, no ability. Okay. Abilities certainly help narrow it down too,
Yes, they do.
and they do make cards much more playable too. So, lightning, no rule box, basic, no ability.
Yep.
So lightning. Uh-oh. So it's a lightning attacker.
Yeah, probably.
Unless it's some other purpose in the deck, but probably for attacking. Oh, I'm not very strong at the lightning Pokemon. So, um,
Yeah, they're not
let's
very
think.
strong, to be honest. To be
No,
determined.
they're not strong, and I'm not strong. Yes. So, um, well, is it Regieleki? I'll just take a stab there.
What? There are two Regielekis.
Oh no, now I don't know if I know what they are.
You can like
Um,
describe them, but
there's the one. I'm trying to remember what they do because I haven't played Regis a lot.
yeah,
The one, if I recall, hits the active and then it does a little bit of damage to the bench. Is that correct?
yeah, that's
Does
right.
like 30 or 40 damage to the bench.
Yeah,
There's one that only damages the bench, right?
yeah.
Is it just damage one on the bench,
Uh,
or does it do two on the
no, there's,
bench?
there's one on the bench.
One on the bench for like 120 or something.
Yeah,
Is that? And are those the two main ones in the Regis decks?
yeah. I think those are the only two. Or there's like the
Um,
VMAX and V as well, but
right, but that doesn't help you use your Regigigas. So,
nope.
so is it the Regieleki that does the hits in the active and does a little bit to the bench on
Yes,
bench Pokemon?
it is.
All right, good. I was glad it was the Regieleki because I was going to have a big problem. I wasn't sure where I was going to next. I know there's a couple techs out there in the Lightning, for Lightning and decks, but I'm coming up with those is tricky.
Yeah, there's Zapdos, and then there's like Raikou, or there's no, sorry, there's Zekrom, Zero Aura, and
Yeah,
Raikou Amazing Rare. Those are the three.
yeah,
But yeah, you got it. You got in on your eighth guess.
yeah. And what set is that from?
It's Evolving Skies, I believe.
Evolving Skies.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
which makes it the old. Is that the newer or the older
no,
one?
because they were in I think Astral Radiance, like the
Yeah,
Reggie's
so it's
package.
the old one.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess you beat me on that one.
So I got it in a few earlier ones. Now, in your defense, I certainly pulled out a much more obscure Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah. I had to I guessed one route where I like got the set and then I didn't really know where to go from there. So then I had to go for type. But yeah,
Yeah, and in Vivid Voltage, Beedrill, I don't think was going to jump to your mind as, oh, that was the card in Vivid Voltage.
yeah. It's one of the more forgettable sets. So, um, but yeah. So well played, I guess. Well played. I should have conceded.
I guess so, but you take the loss either way. So, um, so I guess so we cut. So that I guess brings us to the end of what we of our podcast here. And you want to sign us off?
Sure, sure. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this or listening to this, I suppose. And yeah, this is probably going to be labeled podcast episode 0 of Reasonably Effective. We might not have a logo. We might not have the name might change. I don't know where this is going to go in the future. I don't know if this is going to go in the future, but comment and reach out to us in any way you can. I'm 10 Types, so 10 Types on YouTube with Uncommon Fossil, who's also on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, the links will both be there. Obviously, my channel is, but you could be watching on this on either channel, but the link should be there. And I just got logged out of Pokemon. So yeah, and then if you're listening to this on a different platform, a podcast platform, I don't know if we're gonna put it on those or if we can figure out how, but hopefully we are. So I don't know what stuff you can do. You can maybe follow it or you can like it, comment. I'm not sure, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are enjoying your day, and I think that's all.
Yep. Take care.